As the pandemic continues, the performing arts are reimagining how live performances will have to look. Theaters and arenas are set to reopen in phases 3 and 4 in Massachusetts. Connecting Point's Zydalis Bauer spoke to Don Sanders, the Executive Artistic Director for MIFA Victory Theatre, about the changes they've had to make to some of their programs and his opinion on the future of live performances.
I can't think of anything ever like it exactly before, and I've come to the conclusion that as difficult as it is to do something, it's about 3 times more difficult not to. And so one has to be very creative and keep a good spirit. I think we're very lucky in the arts to be able to be communicating with one another, and my heart goes out to all the people who perhaps don't have the same outlet that folks in the arts have. So I think it's also been a challenge to see what other ways, both digitally and virtually, we can get the message of the arts across.
You brought up El Puerto Rico, and right around this time this year, you would have been in that 3rd phase of that program. Can you tell me a little bit about the program and the changes that you've had to make for this year?
Yes, absolutely. Well, El Puerto Rico 3, we're very proud of this program. It is the 3rd year of an ongoing series, which is the establishment of an international arts academy in Holyoke connected to the Victory Theatre. And specifically, the academy is spawned a music group which is called the Victory Players. And the Victory Players, the music director is Tian Wei Ning, and he came up with the first idea for the project to focus on really, really great music from the Puerto Rican tradition. And so it's a contemporary music ensemble. And I think actually, at least the last time I saw you was at the performance last June, where we were doing the 2nd series in the concert. And so it goes like this. It's a 2-week residency, and musicians from around the world were invited to apply to be part of the ensemble instrumentalists. Many applied. Tian chose the winners, and he then also put out an invitation for new composers, young composers, to have works that the musicians would work on and rehearse while they were in Holyoke, and then it would culminate in a public performance of where the compositions had arrived at by the end of the 2-week period. Now, I should say the other really important part of the program is that all during the 2 weeks, the musicians and the Victory Players go and visit schools, local regional schools. This year, they were scheduled to go to Chicopee, Holyoke, West Springfield, and South Hadley. And they give workshops to, in some cases, elementary school students and also high school students. And to be a part of seeing these wonderful professional musicians bringing this music, the joy of it, but also the technical skills to school groups is really, really exciting. And so that was supposed to have happened the last 2 weeks and culminating in the public concerts last Friday and Saturday. So when we knew that couldn't happen, we started on this new idea of how, number one, we have a new schedule for that, which is going to be in January of 2021. So what was going to happen, the workshops and the concerts will be happening in mid-January. So the viewing audience should look out for that. And we decided to start a kind of fan campaign to have the folks who had seen one of the concerts and the wider world get to know the musicians and get to know about the project by setting up digital interviews, etc., really making a kind of a serial that introduces the public to each one of the musicians who are very, not only musically skilled, but I think wonderful to know about them and what their goals and ambitions are for music. And our idea, quite frankly, to make a fan club so that when the actual January 21 comes, everybody will be just, so excited to actually be there in the presence with the people, with the musicians, the artists. So El Puerto Rico 3 will now take place in January of 2021. And we're working on this exciting video so that people can learn more about the project.
Now, the bottom line of a lot of the work that you do is for the Victory Theatre in Holyoke, to reopen that theater. Are you concerned that this pandemic that we're going through might make live performances look a little different and affect the future of the Victory Theatre?
Yes, certainly the lead up to the finding of a cure, a vaccine that the audiences can trust, that the public can trust, is going to affect how live performance happens. I believe in the long run, live performance is such an organic part of us as human beings, the joy that we have in seeing one another, in hearing music and seeing plays, movies, dance, that as soon as the threat of the pandemic is gone, people will actually, I think, come back to live theater with even renewed energy and excitement.
In the meantime, while things are still a little uncertain, how can the community support performing artists and live performances, even though if it has to be virtual?
Yes, I think it's important to follow the organizations. All the wonderful organizations in the Valley are doing a great job in making clear what they're doing, and to follow the travel along on the journey with us. That's very important. Of course, look at that donate button, and if people need some financial stimulus, that's important. I do think a very interesting thing has happened because of the pandemic, and that is seeing in very, very strong relief how important governmental support is for culture and the arts. It's important, and I'm not singling us out against other issues like education or medicine, etc. The arts and culture, I think the situation has underscored how important it is for the state and federal governments to come in with the kinds of emergency and really creative recovery funding that is going to make culture, which is so important, particularly to our state, even stronger once we're through this. We've got to start thinking about how great things are going to be once this is over. And I really have to say, I'm working very closely with our legislative delegation, both in our region and broader. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the fact that I have to say that Congressman Neal was able to get funding for the Kennedy Center. It proved that in the Massachusetts tradition, we understand the importance of culture to politics, because politics is about making the world better, not worse. And the arts are very, very much a strong banner for that. So I want to salute everybody locally. The list is too long, but that is something that I think we as the public need to be very, very vigorous and enthusiastic about supporting those efforts, not only for industrial and education and retail help and rescue, but for arts and culture, which are a huge part of our economy.